Hey, what's up guys? Steven, TheSalonGuy here, and today I've got a brand new and long overdue tutorial for you all. I'm not even going to show a picture of who I'm doing today, but it's Lucky Bluesmith. If you don't know who he is, he's one of the most sought after male supermodels in the world. He's super popular, and I'm going to be doing a haircuts and hair color tutorial, so I'm ready to go. Let's get started. All right, so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to set up the length for this haircut. So we're not going super high up to the hairline, or we're not going really, really low. We're kind of going right in the middle. So we're going to start by establishing our length and cutting a straight line in the back area. And we're going to do the same thing on this side right into here, basically creating a straight line. Now what we're going to do is we're going to bring everything straight down to this one line, and we're going to cut this straight across, and this will be our base and our length in the back of the head. So go ahead and do that. And when you're completely done with the back, then we'll go back in and we'll work into the sides. So now we've established the length of the back, it's now time to connect this in through the sides. So I'm going to comb this straight down, and his hair is probably around, I'd say, to the middle to lower part of the ear. So what we're going to do is we're going to cut on an angle, working downwards. And right here I like to point cut, just because it gives it that softer edge. And this is going to help create our length in through here, but also keep the length into the back. Then we're going to go in through the front now and connect this. And I'm just going to point cut like this, which gives a softer edge right into the very, very front here. We're going to again angle this up slightly and point cut. And that's going to establish our length. So now when you comb it back, this is kind of the look that you're going to get. And if you do need to shorten this at any point, you can always go back in and shorten it after you've layered the hair. So now we're going to repeat the same thing on this side, holding our hands on an angle and working upwards, keeping the consistency with point cutting, which creates a softer edge. So it's not so straight across and so harsh. And then we're just simply going to connect this right in through the front. Now for the very front, we're going to comb this straight down. And now I'm going to, again, point cut on the ends. And that's going to establish our length in the very front. You don't want to cut it too short, because what happens if you cut it too short, this hair won't go back. So the shorter you cut it here, it only travels that far, which means that every hair on top of that section is going to end up being a lot longer, so it's just not going to lay right. So you're better off leaving a little bit of length here. This way, as you can see here, it'll go back nicely. Now what we're going to do is we're going to layer the hair, and we're going to pull everything out to about, I'd say, to where the length is about 2.5, I'd say about 3.5 inches or so. And we're going to cut it straight across. Then we're going to follow the head shape, working downwards. And when we get into the nape area, we're simply going to continue and just pull everything straight out from the head this way. So let's take section by section. We're going to use a guide from the previous section to keep our haircut consistent. And then, once we follow this pattern going from here to here, then here to here, then we should be done completely with the back. So go ahead and do that. And then when you're finished, we'll be ready to move on to the next section. In case you get stuck at all, here's what the back of the head should look like at the very, very bottom in the nape area when you're cutting it. You're cutting it by holding it straight out like this. You're following the same pattern that you did throughout the top, holding it straight out this way. And all you're looking to do is remove that excess weight, and you're layering the hair so that it remains and lays a little bit softer in the nape area. If you need to, you can also readjust your hand positioning like this. So now you're cutting palm to palm, which means that your palm here is facing you, and it gives you a little more accessibility to cutting the hair closer and shorter into the nape. So again, he does have a little bit of length in through here, and that's the kind of look that we're going for. So finish up the bottom back here, and then we're ready to move into the top. One really valuable tip is cross-checking. And what you're going to do is simply pull the hair straight out from the head, and you're going to make sure that everything is even, and you do that by going section by section. And if you see any little hairs that are longer, that means that they need to be cut, which will create an even shape throughout the whole back of the head. And just do that by simply going and combing and matching everything up this way. So now what we're going to do is we're going to connect the back part right here in through the top. And how we're going to do that, and you've seen me do this in a number of my tutorials, is we're going to simply follow the head shape, and we're going to continue the same length, which is about 3.5 inches to 4 inches the most, and we're going to cut going towards the front of the head. And what that's going to do, and what this is doing, it's allowing us to have a nice soft blend. So there's no harsh lines. You don't want to pick the hair straight up like this and cut it straight across, because you will get a harsh line, and then you're going to have to go back in and recreate the whole back of the head. So now that we have this now, here's going to be our guide right into here, and now we're ready to work going towards the face right into here. So now we have our guide. What I'm going to do now is comb the hair straight up, and we're going to cut straight across like this. And we already cut the back. We don't have to worry about that. And what we're going to simply do is stay in this pattern right here in the middle. We don't want to cut any of the corners yet, because we'll come back to doing that. But what we want to do simply right now is just establish the length on the top of the head. Working towards the front. Again, combing everything straight out from the head. We're keeping in a consistent pattern. Make sure this left elbow stays up and balanced. You'll see that this will all connect based off of when we cut the very front. It should all match up very nicely. And if it doesn't, you might have to go back and recheck it. But here is the last section right into here. And if there is some extra hair, that's actually good. And this is actually perfect, as you can see, because we left this front a little bit longer. So now it allows us to brush the hair back without having any problems. But now we're going to actually work into the corners and into the sides, and we're probably going to end up taking the length and the sides up just a little bit more. So now, cutting the corners, all we're doing is following the natural round of the head, which is right in through here. And we're now going to be cutting, again, straight out from the head. And removing the corners means you're simply just blending it in, balancing it out, and rounding off the shape, which means that it will lay very evenly, nice and full, and will complement this particular head shape. So right into the very front here, this is the last section in the corner. You want to over direct slightly back to you. Leave that front bit a little bit longer. And now we're going to work into the bottom part of the sides now. So here's some hair through here, as you can see, and we're going to cut that off because that's excess weight that we don't need. You got to be careful you don't cut too much, because you will end up cutting some of the length, and if you're in a situation where you don't want to cut the length, then you're going to be in trouble. So what we did now is to remove the weight right in through here, but also we have the length right here to work with too. I feel it's a little long, but that's fine. So now we can come in and balance it right here, which is exactly what we want to do. So let's point cut right here, get rid of that excess length, and then don't forget to point cut and work in through the length, in through the back there, because you want to have this all blended in. You can also pick this up by hand if you want, and again, if you feel it's too long, you can always point cut like this to shorten it up. But make sure you always keep everything balanced. See that hair right there? It needs to come off because it's a little bit too long and it doesn't match up. So simply go back in and point cut. And now I think this looks a little bit better and is more for Lucky Blue's style. So now do the same thing on the other side. Okay, so now the haircut is complete, and I just want to show you the end result. Working over this way. So the hair, as you can see here, goes back. It's about right to the mid to the bottom of the ear, and the length, and here's some length into the back. And now a special treat I'm actually going to bleach the entire head, and in order to get that light color, you have to bleach it. So before we go any further, because now we're dealing with hair color and hair lightener, which is more on the professional realm of things, if you want to try this yourself, try it at your own risk. I can't guarantee how the end result's going to come out. Be careful because you could damage your hair, and I'm using professional products, and I am a professional, so I don't suggest doing this at home. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to mix up some lightener. I'm going to apply it to the mannequin head here and the whole head and let it process for quite some time. So I'll do some quick little clips of me putting it on, but a lot of it's going to be sitting and waiting. Now with hair color and lightener, you can't just go to the store and buy a blonde hair color, put it on your head if your hair is really, really dark, and expect it to get as light as Lucky Blue Smith's. His is really, really light, very platinum, and this really would work best if you have naturally pretty much really blonde hair to begin with. If you have really dark hair, because I normally get questions about this, I don't suggest doing it, and if you do it, it's gonna come up really, really red and bright orange. So I don't suggest doing this if your hair is anything below a light brown. All right guys, so here is the finished results from the bleaching, and I let this on for quite some time. I'm talking like, you don't want to know, but very, very long time. And you need to do this in order to bleach out hair. It's got to sit for a very long time, but as you can see, this came out really, really nice. So I've seen him in videos and pictures where he has it just kind of natural like this. As you saw, I used my hands to blow dry it. I put a volumizing sea salt spray and also a volumizing mousse in it. So this is all natural with no finishing product in it. But now what I want to do is put a little bit of a finishing product in it to give it more of a slick back kind of look. All right, so I'm now using a volumizing texture cream, and I'm going to start in through the sides right here, because there's been a lot of times where you see his hair is slicked back nice and tight throughout the sides here. And this is a great place to start because, as you can see, that kind of really gelled back the sides nicely. And now I'm just going to run this through the top with my hands, and I'm going to accentuate the part a little bit more by just kind of working the part in and just kind of matting it down a little bit and working the product in. And now I'm just working this over this way and then around like this, and I think it looks great. Well guys, I had a lot of fun doing this Lucky Blue Smith tutorial. I know a lot of you wanted to see it for quite some time, and here again is the finished result, and I think it looks amazing. So thank you guys so much for watching, and don't forget to like, subscribe, and you can also follow me on Periscope at TheSalonGuy, also on Instagram and Twitter. I'm also on Twitter. So thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you next time for more tutorials with TheSalonGuy.